Hey everybody, so welcome to my second preview for the qualifying round matchup between the Montreal Canadiens and the Pittsburgh Penguins. When I did the first preview, there were some things that I didn't know. We didn't know some of the players that were opting out, who would be healthy, who would be in camp or not, and there's a few like KK and stuff like that. So I thought I'd take another look at it. We're less than 2 weeks away from the drop of the puck in Phase 4, so it's time to take another look. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking at the offense, defense, goaltending. We'll go over what I think the lineups will be, I guess, for that, and just talk about that, decide who has the advantage there, and then overall, we'll see who has the advantage, and maybe that'll be the winner. And then again, maybe not, because what happens on paper isn't what happens on the ice necessarily, right? So let's get right into the lineup. So we're going to look at, I'm going to give you what I think the first line is, and then the first line here, and then compare and go all the way through the lines. Okay, so I'm going to give the first line, and you're going to probably say, well, that's not the first line. But I think it'll be the first line in this series. I'm going to tell you why. So I've got Drouin. I might have to bunch them in here. Suzuki. Armia. And normally, obviously, it's Tatar, Deneau, and Gallagher as the first line. And I still think they are the first line, but I'm not listing them here as the first line for this reason, because I think they're going to match up as much as possible against Gensel, Crosby, and I think it's Connor Sheary. That's so far looks like that's going to be the line. Okay, so why is Suzuki matching up against Crosby? Why? Because Suzuki obviously is a rookie. I think you don't want to match up Suzuki against a much bigger and but probably at this point, definitely in their careers, much more talented Evgeny Malkin. I think it might be a more taunting task. Also, I do believe that Suzuki and Crosby's game kind of matches much better than Malkin and Crosby's and Suzuki's game. So I think when you have the matchup, and when you don't, every time you can get them matched up, I think that's the matchup. Drouin, Suzuki, Armia against Gensel, Crosby, and Sheary. So line two, obviously, in this scenario, line two. Oh, I should also say, I'm of the mind Max Domi is not playing. Max Domi is not in my lineup because I'm quite convinced that he won't be playing. It'll be a big shock and a surprise that he will if he does play, but I'm still convinced he will not be playing. He's not in this lineup. I should have said that right off the start. Sorry, guys. Okay, so you got Tatar. As we all know, this line, Deneau, and Gallagher. This is a top line in the league. The reason I have them not split apart, because I've seen other lineups where they're split apart, because listen, they are really good players too, maybe great players, you could say, but when you put them together, they're even better together than you can when you split them up. So I don't think that there's any benefit in my mind, there's no benefit if you want to win this series. There's no benefit in splitting these guys up because you need them to not only shut down the line that they're skating against, but to provide some offense as well, because you had Tatar and Gallagher both leading the team with 22 goals each. So you know that your goal-scoring leaders are here. You need that offense, but you also need them to shut down the other side, because when you don't have them together, you don't shut down the other side quite nearly as well as you do when they're together. This is a top five line in the league, and they're great on 5-on-5, producing offense and shutting down the other side. The other side here, obviously, is going to be the Malkin line. And apparently Zucker, whoops, maybe you want to write. You got Zucker, Malkin, and Brian Rust. Now, the thing I know about the Penguins' top six, they're interchangeable. So I guess depending on the situation, depending on what's going on, they can switch these wingers around with the centers, and they're all fine. It doesn't really matter. But this is apparently the way they're lining up right now in their camp. So I think, like I said, when you have the matchup, I think this is the way it's going to go. When they have the matchup, they might want to get Malkin away from Deneau. So you might have to see Malkin and Suzuki. We'll see how he does there. But I think in general, I think Suzuki's game is going to be better against Crosby than it will be against Malkin. Third line, Montreal. This is where I'm going a little bit outside the box, but I don't even know if it's that much outside the box. So we know we got KK as the center. Domi's not going to be here. KK is going to be the center. Plus, KK has been looking fantastic in camp. His skating has been way better so that he's able to keep pace. This was one thing missing from his game. I think probably at the end of his rookie season and maybe during the whole season. And definitely last year, as he was not able, because of injuries and stuff, I guess, he wasn't able to keep pace. And that allowed him, didn't allow him to make his plays nearly the same. He was always like behind the 8-ball almost. And now with his improved skating, he's able to keep pace. You're going to see him make more plays. You're going to see him connect on more plays and connect on more of his shots. That's my opinion. So you got KK. Who do you play with KK? Okay, when KK was demoted to the AHL, what happened when he went down there? He hooked up with Charles Hudon. They found a lot of chemistry that produced 13 points in 13 games for KK, and I believe like 11 or 12 goals for Charles Hudon. So I say here, I don't understand why I'm not seeing it in camp yet, but for me, I'm going Charles Hudon, KK, and on this side, Byron. Why? Why Byron, not Lehkonen? I think that you need to produce some offense from this line. If you're looking to beat the Penguins. Now, for me, I might not do this because I don't really want them to beat the Penguins, and I want that draft pick. But they're not thinking that way, not at all. The players nor the coach, are they ever thinking that they're going to, well, we'll get the draft pick. No, they want to win. And if they want to win, personally, I think this line could be key to producing some offense that could win some games. And, yeah, you need this line to produce some offense. I'm hoping KK is as good as they're saying that he is in camp, because all I'm hearing is high praise about his game, his skating, and his shooting. Yeah, you know, so I think that, you know, these three guys can. We know that they can score. We know they can produce offense. Hudon, not here in the NHL yet, but in the AHL, maybe hooking up with KK can change that for him. So I would like to see this happen, and if not, you can switch it around. But I'd like to see these guys and see if KK and Hudon can continue with a little bit of chemistry up here in the NHL. So I'm going that way. Then I'm going with Evans as the fourth line center. Between Weiss and Wheel, I think you're going to see Wheel. He's got more experience than Weiss. He's got more offense to his game than Weiss. He doesn't have the size that Weiss has. That could be the only thing that puts Weiss in there, in my opinion. But I think we're going to see Wheel to start off with Evans, because don't forget, Evans is not a small guy, and I always thought he was, but he's 6'2". Yeah, he's 24, so maybe he's 20. He's 24, I think. So you know, he's not a small guy, and I don't know why I've always thought that, but just in case you guys do, he's not a small guy. So you know, you can put Wheel in there, and I think over here, because he's not yet in there, and I don't think you put Weiss over Lehkonen. You've got Lehkonen. I'm going to just put Lecky because I don't think I got space. So I think Lecky's the one that drops down to see if Hudon and KK can find some magic together. If not, he'll slot up higher. Although if that's the case, I would switch Byron over there and put Lecky. No, I'm sorry. It's because in camp they have Byron. Yeah, that's just a brain fart, as they say. Yeah, I'd switch Lecky up to the third line if Hudon and KK can't seem to find that magic that they seem to have. Now, I said I would give the line by line, and I didn't. So we're going to go third line here is lining up as Marleau. Ton of experience with Marleau. Can still score if he you know, gets the opportunity. McCann. I don't know a lot about McCann. I just know he's very capable there as a third line center, and he can produce some offense as well. And you got Patrick Hornquist, and that he wasn't in my first video, or he wasn't in a video that I did about this. And yeah, I think healthy. I don't know if it was a question that he was injured or whether he'd be healthy, but healthy. It's Hornquist here on the third line. Also, a lot of experience, and he can score. He can put some pucks in that, and I believe he can play center as well. So in case there's face-offs or something like that, he can fill in at center there. And then the fourth line is one that's been around. It's been either the longest for the season that they were together than any other fourth line combo. I think that might be it. And I think this is how they're lining up right now. And that's Aston Reese, Bluger, and Tanev. Oh, Tanex. I put Tanex because it's Tanev. I think that's a pretty good fourth line. Maybe a better fourth line than we've got. So, and they've lined up all season together, and they're very effective together. And yeah, I think that's how it's going to line up. I think personally the advantage is depending on how. Listen, depending on how Danault can shut down these guys, depending on how Suzuki lines up when he lines up with Malkin. Does KK and Hugh don't have some chemistry? Because this is going to be very important. Third line scoring is going to be really important. When you look at their first two lines, you know, these guys, it's a big mountain to climb to outscore them. So I think third line on our team is going to be super important. Overall, I'm sorry, but I just see too much firepower up in the first two lines. There's no way we can shut them down completely. I don't think so. And I just don't see it. So I'm going advantage there to the Penguins. Let's go take a look at defense before we get to this stuff here. We'll take a look at defense. That should go a little quicker. I do believe defense, we're going to line them up as Sherratt and Weber. Why? I think that was your best combo last season. Earlier in the season, whatever. It wasn't last season. That was your best combo all season. I thought once Sherratt felt comfortable, once Sherratt's game was up, I thought Sherratt handled himself well with playing with Weber. You've got two big guys. You've got two guys that can shut down the other side on offense, I do believe, and you've got two guys that can also readily chip in with some offense themselves. Okay, so that's going to be countered by Dumoulin. Very underrated defenseman. I don't know a ton about him. I do know he's a very underrated defenseman, very capable, and offsets Chris Letang very well. We all know Chris Letang. If it weren't for the fact that he went in his, you know, there's so many other good defensemen that outshone him a little bit. He's also probably underrated, but this is a very good line. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Sherratt and Weber to compete with them, maybe even, depending how things go, depending on how, if Sherratt is still comfortable, if he has something that hasn't happened. I haven't heard much about Sherratt. I guess that's why the reason I question it. But I think they match up well as 1-2. They're not really playing against each other necessarily so much, but that's your 1-2 top line. Now here, it's definitely Petrie, but I'm not sure. You know, I was thinking about it, and I'm not sure. I think I'm going to change what I had earlier. I'm going with Mete here. I think Mete's got more experience than Kulak. I think Mete plays a more consistent game than Kulak. Mete's defensive numbers are underrated. Mete's offense is not underrated because it hasn't really been there, but it's going to get there. I love his skating, the way he can cover. He can always get back. He's got wheels, and I just think he's a bit underrated. He's going to start coming out. He's, what, 22? This kid is going to be good. He's a little small, maybe. You might say he's a little on the small side, so he can get physically dominated a little bit against the boards and sometimes defending in front of the net. But I still think he's your best option if you want to win in a playoff series. I think Mete is going to be your best option to play with Petrie. Next up, this is the question mark. I haven't seen Kulak in camp yet, so I don't know. But if Kulak's healthy, I think it's Kulak. And then who do you play? I don't think it's going to be Noah Juulsen. I know everybody really wants it to be Noah Juulsen, but there's something that, and he's getting high praise, and I get that. He's getting high praise and all that. Something that was that Claude Julien said that makes me say this. And he said, in all the high praise he gave him, he also said that he's worried about his delayed development. And I think that's going to make a play here, or it's going to come into play here for this series. Yeah, he missed a good amount of time. His development probably did get delayed. He also only played one game coming back to Laval before the season was canceled. So we don't really know. And yeah, he's going to look good in camp. I still think there's a little bit of an unknown, and I said he's going to have to play lights out in camp to get in there, and it's still going to have to be, and I don't think that's going to be the case, and I don't think it's going to be Juleson. I think personally, and I did it again, I put both, whatever. I think personally you're going to have to choose between Folin, only because he's a veteran, and Julian probably likes that in him, and I think Fleury ought to get a shot. I think Fleury ought to get a shot as well. I love Fleury's physical game. I love the checks he gives. I love the physical side of his game. Yeah, he's got a little ways to go on the other side, the rest of the game, but we haven't seen him in the NHL since he was demoted. So I don't know what we're going to see, but I think it's going to be one of those two guys there. So that's our defense. So next, I don't know why I capped my pen. I should have given this, but it's Pedersen. It's Marcus, I think. Pedersen. I don't know a lot about this kid. I hear he's pretty steady. He's a good defender. You got Marino, a rookie. They got him from Anaheim. They got him from somewhere else. A sixth-round pick, and looks like a really good defenseman. Maybe one day be on the first pairing. And he's young. He's not as young as you might think. I think as a sixth-rounder, probably took him a few years to get here, but he's made it with Pittsburgh. Again, don't know a ton about him. Just know that he's very highly thought of, and he's on that. He's there. Is it Jack Johnson or Eric Johnson here? I'm not sure which one. I think it's Eric Johnson. Very capable, especially on third pairing, and he's going to be lined up with Justin Schultz, a puck mover, from what I understand. It's a good defensive pairing for Pittsburgh, and they have some experience, and I think that that's how it's going to look. And I think that because of the unknown here, I think this whole third pairing here for Montreal is unknown. We don't know how they're going to play. We don't know who's going to play there. And we don't really know Kulak and Mete, which way they're going to line up. I just think, okay, top three are probably better than their top three overall, but I think it's the bottom three that makes the difference, and it gives the Penguins the advantage there. Okay, in goal. Well, we know in goal for Montreal, we know without a doubt it's Price. And the thing is, we don't know who's going to back him up. In Montreal's case, the backup might not be important at all, because Price could, if he's playing well, he's going to play every single game. It's unlikely that a backup is going to get any games. If Price comes in and struggles, that's where the key is. So who do you have? Well, you've got Michael McNiven. I don't think he's going to get a shot at it. So then you have Charlie Lindgren, who has some NHL experience, not a ton, and also not really great numbers to show for it. So I really don't think you're going to look at having Lindgren in here. I really think that this is a good opportunity to give Caden Primo, just even if it's experience just sitting at the bench being Carey Price's backup. I think that's awesome. And maybe he gets in a game or two, who knows, depending on how far they go and how well they do, and like I said, how well Carey Price does. So I think it's Primo to back him up, because I think that's your future. Primo's your future. Price is your now. They're one's a clone of the other, pretty much. Primo, he looks so much like Price when he's playing. So I think that's how they line up there. Now, I think between Murray and Jarry, I think Murray with the 2 cups under his belt, I think you got to start with him. Unless he's doing horrible in camp, which I don't know. But I think you got to start with Murray, and you always have a good backup in Tristan Jarry to go to. That's the one thing that Pittsburgh has that we don't. We don't have that. It's not to say Primo's bad. It's not. But he's no experience. We don't know. We don't know how he'll handle so much pressure so early in his career. We just don't. But we do know that Murray has done well in the postseason, and Tristan Jarry did well this past season. And I think you've got a good 1-2 punch there. So, and you know what? You don't need the best goalie in the league to win a cup. I've said that many times. You don't need Carey Price to be, and if it was Carey Price that won the cup, Montreal would have a cup with him already. And they don't. So you don't need. So I think they have the advantage because you have the 1-2 punch. You could even go one game, two, just offset them, and you're okay. I don't think that'll happen with Primo, and I give the advantage to Murray. Now, if Carey Price just comes out lights out, and he's the Carey Price of 2015, it's a different story, and then it turns around. But on paper, we're looking at it on paper, and on paper, I think Pittsburgh has the advantage there. That's my opinion. You can beat me up. Leave me a comment in the comment section if you disagree. All right, so this video is going longer than I thought. So let's go over, let's go over what I think the pros and cons for each team. And it's a pros and cons, like the pros of to win, and cons are against them winning. Okay, pros for Montreal. The Danault line is the top NHL line. It's right up there. If it's not in the top 3, it's in the top 5. They can shut down the opponent, and they can score at the same time. And I think that's great. And it's not like a one game, they got all the offense, and they're not doing it on the defense. They do both in the same game. They'll shut them down, and they'll score. And I think they don't go. Montreal goes nowhere without this line being effective. Number 2 pro is Carey Price. Carey Price could just pretty much win the whole series by himself. Not literally by himself, but you know what I mean. He could be the main reason why Montreal wins the series. Just steal it all the way. He does have the potential capability still, sure, although he's a few seasons away from being that guy consistently. But in a short series, 5-game series, he can win. It just takes 3 games, and he can win 3 games. Or be the main reason why. Nick Suzuki, for me, is a pro. Why? Yes, he's a rookie. I think he had a pretty damn good rookie season. I think this is a spot where Nick Suzuki, if he's going to be that elite player that I happen to think that he is going to be, I have a feeling this is where the opportunities presented to him. Great players usually take the opportunity. He is young. And even if he doesn't have a great showing, doesn't mean his career is not going to be good or anything like that. But I think Nick Suzuki takes the opportunity here and shows us that he is going to be a great player. KK could surprise. So in that vein, like Nick Suzuki, KK's getting an opportunity to not only get a chance here, but to salvage his season. That sophomore jinx, injuries, all kinds of things took a toll on him this season. And I think he gets an opportunity here. He's looking bigger and stronger. His skating is way improved. His shot is described by Phil Danault as devastating. I saw some one-timers highlights, and his shot looks fantastic. If he can manage just to put all those things together, that when we've been watching him for the last 2 seasons, some games you see the hope of that happening and the promise of it and a flash of it. If he can just do that here and say, I'm going to take this opportunity and grab it. He's 20 years old now. He's not an 18-year-old kid. He has a little bit of experience. That can make a huge difference, and it can be a huge surprise to everybody involved on the other side especially, and could make a huge difference for the Habs. Power play was the league best on the road. The power play for Montreal was, I said league best, but I know it was right up there in the top. I'll be conservative and say 5, but I think it was in one of the top 3 power plays on the road. The problem was at home, it was the opposite, and it was totally garbage like it had been the season before overall. So if the power play can figure that they are on the road, because they're going to be playing in Toronto. They're not at home. There's no fans in the stands. You can make yourself believe we're on the road. If they can play like that, have that road power play, that can be a power play that hits somewhere between 22 and 25. I believe that. So power play could be a huge thing. Penalty kill was also getting better at the end. They started to waver a little bit as the season shut down, but they had been starting to get better. With everybody healthy, who knows? The defense is going to have a lot to do with that, I think. But so the PK can really do something and be a big contributor. Now this is something I was reading, and I kind of might agree with this. They need to play a more chaotic style. Julian likes to play that kind of a conservative style where, you play your defensive role and you don't take too many chances, that kind of thing. I think in this case, if you want to win, And you're going to have to outscore a pretty good offense. There's no doubt. They had a 13th best offense in the league, Pittsburgh. So you need to take some chances. You need to forecheck heavily. And if you remember watching them in this past season, a lot of in the early part of the season when they were really, their offense was rolling, they were winning. It was kind of chaotic. They would be heavily forechecking and or playing off the rush, get in there, move the puck around, and boom, score, either in close like Gallagher, blah, 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 whatever. But it was kind of chaotic, and that they were winning. And I think if they can, that might be something to try to do and not sit back on your heels and wait for the chances to come. You've got a 5-game series. You don't have a lot of time to outweight the other team to get your chances to win the games, because it seems that when they do that this season, they end up falling into a hole and that they have to climb out of, and they usually fell 1 goal short of that. Or they were leading and they started to get conservative and the team came back and beat them by 1 goal. That's happened how many times? Cons, inexperienced. They're not a very experienced team. They're one of the youngest teams in the league, and they lack experience in a lot of key spots. They lack experience, especially playoff experience. Lack of depth. We saw this happen. They got the injuries, and they went downhill, and that was because of the lack of depth, which will turn around the next couple of seasons as the prospects come up. But right now, that hasn't changed from just a few months ago. No Max Domi. Now, like I said, I don't think he's going to play. I don't have him here. No Max Domi. That's not good. That's definitely gonna have some form of an effect, unless Hudo and KK find this chemistry that I'm hoping they have. If that's the case, you might not miss Domi as much. Conservative style doesn't win games. That's what I was just talking about. That conservative style of Claude Julien's doesn't seem to win games for them. How many of the 2 8-game losing streaks, those games, they just didn't play. They didn't have the depth to do it, but I mean, that conservative style doesn't win games. Bottom 3 on D, as I just said, could be a problem. We don't know. Mete, I'm not thinking as bad with Mete. I think Mete can show something here and lift his game up a little bit. It's the bottom pairing that really kind of concerns me. So I don't know. And then coaching is Claude Julien. Everybody knows Claude Julien could be a problem. Maybe it doesn't work well with the kids, although I like what I'm hearing from him. But if he plays that too conservative a style, if he gets sold on having Wheel, Evans, and Leckie or whatever the fourth line is out there more than they should be, if Wheel is on the power play when he shouldn't be, that kind of thing, then that's a problem, and that's going to hurt them. Penguins, pros, Crosby, Malkin. Can't say more than that. That's a big pro to have Crosby and Malkin as your 1-2. Everyone is healthy. They had so many injuries last year. Their depth came into play. Imagine what could have been without those injuries. They wouldn't have been struggling to get into that top 4. They would have been one of the teams with a bye. Top 6 are interchangeable. Their top 6, you can move them around, whatever the situation is, and they play well together. Jason Zucker, I know, is new there, but I guess they saw enough of him to see that he can play with everybody in the top 6. So that's a really good thing to know, that you can sort of change around depending on what your need for the next game. Experience in the postseason. Many of them have multiple cups. They've got lots of NHL playoff experience, and that's going to bode them well here. Plenty of depth. We know that they have depth because of all the injuries, and they still managed to stay right where they were and never really fall out of it. Top 10, well, I put top 10 team on offense. It's top 13. They were 13th in offense. So, their offense is there. Well, with Crosby and Malkin, it's there. They have the goalie depth, as I was talking there. You can put either one in and be, confident that you're going to get a good performance from them. So that's definitely a pro. Coaching, Mike Sullivan. I wrote Mike Sullivan because I didn't know if I'd remember the coach's name. But Mike Sullivan did a fantastic job with them, you have to admit, and kept them there all season through the injuries, through all that. So I don't know how he didn't get nominated for Jack Adams, but I mean, he really kept them there. So he's definitely a pro, as opposed to where I have it as a con. Cons, power play and PK numbers. You'd think that would be better, but considering all the injuries, I would have a feeling that that's not really going to be a con, because with everybody healthy, those numbers are going to be better. If you shut down Crosby and Malkin, that's the only con. If you can shut down Crosby and Malkin, a lot of their scoring goes away, and that's going to be. But how do you do that? Danault can only shut down pretty much one at a time, so it depends on how Suzuki's going to do, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. So there you go. I'm rushing now because of the long video. Sorry about that, but it is the preview for the more serious preview for this series. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. It helps the algorithm, that's for sure. And while you're down there doing that, leave me a comment in the comment section about anything here if you disagree with me, if you agree with me, or what you might think you would do differently. Let me know in the comment section, which is down there, about like anything here, whatever you want to comment on. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and ring the notifications bell. That's also down there, and that'll get you your daily fix of Blue Blanc Rouge right here at Talkin' Habs. And so that's it. Thanks for watching. Please stay safe out there. Wear a mask when you have to be around people. And that's it. Peace out. Peace out. I'll see you next video. Have a great one. Bye, y'all. Sorry for 31 minutes. Oh, my God.